Listen up! The Party Ponies of Equestria, or PPE for short, have once again provided a potential threat to equestrian life. Not because they possess military technology centuries ahead of the equestrian armed forces, and not because they're actively collecting information on every town in Equestria. Eyes on screen to see. The Party Ponies of Equestria, or PPE for short, has formed a massive party army that spans all of Equestria. Although it has been designed to spread joy, it's organized itself in ways similar to human armies, forming branches and acting as units that mimic their human world counterparts. Here I shall compare the two. Pinkie Pie is the field artillery of the party army. Field artillery in human armies is king of the battlefield. It provides support to friendly ground troops by delivering accurate, long-range fire with big guns and the occasional rocket. Artillery is extremely useful because it can fire all the time, in almost all conditions. All it needs is ammunition and a target within range. Its massive firepower and extremely long range allow it to crack the toughest of targets from several miles away, inflicting ridiculous amounts of physical and psychological damage. All these traits make artillery a reliable support to nearby troops, but it has its limits. One is artillery crews rarely see the target they're shooting at. Keeping the artillery piece out of the enemy's line of sight is great for safety, but terrible for accuracy. To ensure that the crew actually hits the target, scouts, called for reservers, are used to report the exact positions of enemy targets, and correct the crews for what they miss. Oddly enough, like a person getting their back scratched. Add 100. A little farther up. Left 200. To the left. Fire for effect. Oh yeah, right there. Perfect. Without observers, the crew can only fire blindly at targets beyond their line of sight, significantly increasing the chances of friendly fire or just plain missing. The second weakness of artillery is that artillery crews are small and thus vulnerable to direct attack. This is why most artillery pieces are mobile, so their crews can pack up their guns and run should an enemy threaten their position. Despite this mobility, artillery usually works at its best when it can stay in one place. This allows the crew time to register or test its guns. When an artillery crew registers its guns, it fires at areas where the enemy will likely appear, allowing the crew to preset their guns to hit a certain location. Registration makes artillery fire several times more accurate and ensures that their first shots hit right on target. Without registration, even the best artillery crews only hit their target after their second or third shots, and by then, a wise enemy will have taken cover, severely limiting the effect of the barrage. In modern times, artillery weapons are large, complex weapon systems mounted on armored vehicles or towed by trucks, but the first weapons artillery crews used to truly fill this role were howitzers and cannons, particularly wheeled ones that were moved around by horses. Pinkie Pie fits this mold perfectly. She is a constant support to the ponies around her, planning parties and baking cakes whenever or wherever they're needed. Both her parties, cakes, and her impromptu actions around town provide large amounts of psychological relief and physical well-being. All she needs is a few supplies and an occasion. She possesses all the strengths of field artillery, but unfortunately has its weaknesses as well. Pinkie Pie makes awesome parties in Ponyville that get good reviews from even the snootiest of residents. But whenever she tries to throw a party or make an event for anyone other than the Ponyville resident, the reviews are mixed at best. The reason for this is that Pinkie Pie, like artillery, needs time to register her guns whenever she moves to a new place or needs to shoot at a new type of target. Since she's lived in Ponyville for years and has creepily monitored all of its residents, it's practically direct fire. She has had plenty of time and information with which to tune her parties to perfectly suit Ponyville residents. When Pinkie is called to make a party for anyone other than the Ponyville resident, she often lacks the information and time needed to register her party cannon to her new client's tastes, resulting in bashes that usually end up with actual bashing. With time, she can usually retune her parties to make the new guest happy, but like the artillery crew she mimics, Pinkie Pie is awfully bad at firing blind. This is why it was no surprise that Pinkie would pull off a successful first party in amending fences, because she had hours to register her guns and feedback from a good forward observer, creating a great effect on target. Additionally, when Cheese Sandwich attacked her position in Ponyville, she was unable to effectively defend it in a direct confrontation, and so packed up her guns and prepared to leave. Pause! Just look at this image! Doesn't it remind anybody of something? And those caissons go rolling along. Keep it rolling! I meant play! This inability for Pinkie to defend her position makes sense in two ways. None of them being that Cheese Sandwich is the best party pony. As I stated earlier, artillery performs poorly in direct, close-range fighting. Additionally, artillery is almost always outclassed by the branch Cheese Sandwich mimics. Cavalry. Cavalry, in the human world, excels at moving around quickly to wherever they're needed, finding weaknesses in the opponent's formation, and exploiting them to create as much shock as possible, then quickly retreating before the enemy can muster an effective counterattack. Cavalry's fast movement speed, and the shock of its attacks, makes it ideal for quickly striking the enemy, often securing large areas. This tendency of cavalry to find and exploit breaks in the enemy line makes it the bane of artillery's existence. Cavalry moves faster than mobile artillery can run, and can easily outflank it if it tries to stand and fight. Unfortunately, cavalry units have their fair share of weaknesses as well. Cavalry units are hard to maintain logistically. In addition to the men, cavalry units must also provide for their vehicles, be they modern armored vehicles or war horses. This means that large amounts of fuel, fodder, weapons, ammunition, spare parts, etc. must be available to keep the unit running at even a minimum strength. Maintaining all these men, machines, and animals can be, and is, a Herculean task, and as a result, cavalry units can't operate long without a robust logistical structure to keep everything maintained. Even when all the equipment is running, cavalry still has problems defending its position or even holding on to positions it has just taken. The reason for this is that cavalry lives off movement, be it of a medieval knight or a modern tank. A still cavalryman is a dead cavalryman. Without that fast movement speed, a tank becomes a turret that is easily outmaneuvered and or bombarded by artillery, and a lancer becomes a heavy, slow, and clumsy infantryman, easily slain by the usually lighter, faster, and agile foot soldiers. Even modern cavalry units, with their built-in air and infantry support, can't hold the line as well due to their small size, at least compared to other dedicated infantry and air units. The first cavalry units used armed men mounted on war horses or chariots, but after World War II, nearly all the horse cavalry were replaced with armored vehicles, mainly tanks. Cheese Sandwich represents this role down to a T. If the cowboy getup didn't clue you in, Cheese Sandwich has a tank as his party weapon, and runs his party-making entourage like a cavalry unit. He moves into a town that needs a party made, isolates the town's likes and dislikes, then makes a party that pulls out all the stops, setting up roller coasters, punch bowl swing pools, parade balloons, giant cheese wheels, and well, you know the story, turning entire towns into amusement parks. Naturally, all these attractions create an extremely awesome party that could be overwhelming to even the most outgoing of ponies, perfectly encapsulating the shock that a properly planned cavalry charge or tank attack would have. Unfortunately for Cheese, his parties suffer the same weaknesses. All of the attractions he places in his parties, such as roller coasters, stage shows, etc., require an extreme amount of maintenance to keep running, and even if Cheese somehow managed to keep these attractions open 24/7, it would be a pointless effort. Ponies can only party so hard for so long before they get partied out. Combine that with the fact that Cheese's parties typically cover entire towns, and it's safe to assume that after a day or two of Cheese's parties, every pony in town is partied out, turning the most energized of carnivals into ghost towns. Therefore, Cheese has to keep his parties moving from town to town. He can never keep them in one place for too long, because if he does, he'll waste power, money, and time trying to entertain ponies that couldn't be more entertained if they tried. So, while Cheese definitely outperforms Pinkie in the short term with his grandiose carnivals and parades, Pinkie's smaller scale get-togethers and gatherings serve a community better in the long run, lifting spirits of everyone in the town constantly, without tiring out the townsfolk in the process. Alone, they each do a good job of keeping people happy, but together, they form a powerful joy-producing team. She's making great strides in the short term, while Mrs. Pie keeps everyone in town merry and gay for the long haul. No, the old meaning of gay. There we go. The way Pinkie and Cheese Sandwich work together also mimics a strategy used by human armies called Combined Arms. Combined Arms is a tactic that involves the collaboration of many different types of units, each with their own unique strengths and weaknesses to achieve a victory even against numerically superior homogeneous forces. In other words, friendship is magic. The main six is strong, not because they are overwhelmingly powerful in any one element, but because they synthesize an equal amount of each element to create an even greater power. This allows the main six to call upon whatever elements are best to handle a certain situation, and hold in reserve those elements that are ill-suited to the task at hand. In this way, the main six maximizes their strengths and minimizes their weaknesses. Human armies do the same thing. Where the enemy is too strong to attack directly, artillery bombards the enemy position with massive firepower, creating weak points. Then, cavalry quickly reaches these weak points and exploits them. This breaks up the enemy lines and causes massive routs. But there is still a missing piece to this combined arms puzzle. Cavalry can sure take land in its rapid advance, but as we both know, cavalry can't hold on to it for long. Something needs to be there to hold that land after cavalry takes it. Some missing piece that completes both the PPE and modern armies alike. This missing piece actually is the oldest type of military unit, and there's a group of ponies filling its role in the PPE. Hiding in plain sight, the unsung heroes of the party of Ponies of Equestria are... Guns and rockets, what now?
The film is ripped.
Film? Why the heck are you using film?
It's classic.
We've lived in a digital age. How long will it take to fix?
Not long, don't worry. I can fix... Never mind, about a week.
Please excuse us for a moment. Seriously, man. Film?
This is a vision in your mind. Technical difficulties aren't an impossibility.
Just shut up and get a fire extinguisher. It's gonna burn a crate.